Hey up everybody, it's Johnny P, the Painted Coach. So I thought I would share some of my thoughts, what's been happening this week. So I'd like to talk about what I call the judge and the critic, because this week's been a challenging week for me. I've had some very important things going on, lots of events to organise, lots of important people attending, lots of people wanting to develop themselves and go further, and this event that I was putting on was really important to them as well. So lots of pressure on this week, and with that came my wonderful little judge and self-critic. So my thinking mind was really on overdrive. The volume was switched to maximum this week when it came to my inner self-critic and my judge and the stories that it was giving me. And again, I've done a lot of posting recently on about noticing our mind, and we've got the thinking mind and we've got the watcher, the observer, just keeping an eye on what the thinking mind's saying when it comes to my thoughts. So my thinking mind and this inner critic and judge was on full volume, like I say, and it was saying things like, oh, you're not good enough to do this event, John. You're stupid, you left school at 14, you didn't have any qualifications, you're gonna fail. What happens if you fail? People are gonna laugh at you. What happens if this goes wrong? So basically it gave me all the stories that it could come up with. And I understand why it does this inner thinker, because it wants to protect me, it wants to keep me away from harm, and it wants to keep me comfortable. So I understand what it's trying to do, and it's a natural and normal thing for my thinking mind to do, and we all do it. I mean, I've been challenged with this inner critic for, well, at least 20-30 years. It's always there, and I've realized it's always going to be there, this judge and this critic, and I understand its purpose. I understand that the thinking mind's trying to protect me. But what I started to think about, if I followed these thoughts, if I was guided by it and I started to get hooked with them and started to believe them and get entangled with this story in my head, what kind of actions would that provoke? And the actions would have provoked would have been, I wouldn't have done the event, I would have made up some excuses, I'd have let a lot of people down, I'd done a lot of work and some other people had done a lot of work on it as well, and I'd let them down, so I'd let myself down and I'd feel really bad. So I started to think about, okay, so if I followed this thinking mind story of the self-critic and the judge, and I started to believe in it, what actions would that provoke? And actually, is that the person that I wanted to be? And I realised that actually the person that I want to be isn't that person who lets people down, isn't that person who runs away from things when things get a little bit uncomfortable. So I basically thanked my inner judge and my critic, and I basically, like I said, I watch these thoughts in my head, I notice them all the time, this dialogue in my head, and I thank them. So, you know, my critic's called Chris, so I thank Chris. Thanks for those stories, Chris, but actually I'm going to still move forward. I hear what you're saying and thank you for that, but actually I'm going to keep moving forward. And this is what the watcher does when we switch on our watcher, our observer, our inner watcher starts to come to play. About the thinking mind's always going to give us these stories. It's been giving them me for 10, 20 years, and it will give me hopefully for another 10, 15 years. And I know what it's doing. And I know when things are important, it starts to turn up the volume even more. When I'm exposed to things, it starts to really go on overdrive. So I'm aware of this now, and I make sure that I'm watching Chris and the judge, and I'm making sure that I don't engage in the thoughts to a point where it starts to create my behaviours, and especially the behaviours that I don't want. Now, in the short term, and this is the difference, if I'd followed that thought and that story around I'm stupid, I'm not good enough, I'm going to fail, in the short term, that might have helped me. That might have said to me, well, you know, just cancel the event, John, make up some excuses, tell some little white lies and get out of it. And at least then I'm not exposed to all this perceived danger that my thinking mind's putting onto me. But actually in the long term, if I get hooked with these stories and fused and entangled with them, that's going to make me really unhappy, because that's not the person that I really want to be, and that's not the person I truly value. So I just wanted to talk about this inner critic and this judge. We've all got them. It's natural and normal. It's not something that you've only got and nobody else has. It's always going to be there, this little story in our heads. It might be true, some of the things it tells us. But actually, if you followed that thought, how would that be in the long term? Where would that take us if we carried on following these inner critic thoughts? The I'm not good enough, the I'm stupid, I left school at 14 with no qualifications, I'm going to fail. That might protect me in the short term, but in the long term, that's not the person that I want to be. And then it's that moving, it's taking that action and not following and getting basically influenced by that thought, by that story in our head. So I just wanted to share that with you. It's really important for me to try and talk about this, because I speak to a lot of people and this inner critic's there, the judge. And unfortunately we judge ourselves, but then we start to judge other people as well, which strengthens that story. So just be careful. I used to judge people quite a lot when I was younger. I didn't really understand what I was doing, what my mind was telling me. And again, I practice now not to judge other people. When that dialogue comes in my head, oh, look at them, they shouldn't be doing that, that's good, that's bad, I actually just disengage with it. I just let them be who they want to be. As long as they're not doing any harm to any individual, then just let them be who they want to be. I think it's really important. So guys, I just wanted to talk about this. This is something that I've been challenged with, and I know lots of other people have challenged with this inner critic and this judge, and we compare ourselves to other people and other things, and it can take us down certain paths which may be not empowering, maybe leading us to the people that we're not and who we want to be. So just think about it. These thoughts in our head, they're just words, they're just language that we use. It might come out in a voice, and the inner thinker's doing it because it wants to protect us, wants to keep us safe, wants to make us feel a certain way. And that might be good in the short term, but in the long term, where will that take you? And the key thing is just to watch it, let it be. Don't try and get rid of these thoughts, just let them be. Thank the mind, say thank you for that story, and then do the things that you really value, the things that you're going to empower you, things that might make you feel uncomfortable, that might take you out your comfort zone, but actually it empowers you and it makes you be that person that you really value. And sometimes these actions are hard, they're not easy, they are going to challenge us, they do feel uncomfortable, they do feel painful sometimes, but they know in the long term they're going to really help you be that person and live that good life that you really want. So there you go, guys. I wanted to share that with you. It's quite a personal one. I've been challenged with this inner critic and this self-judging for many, many years, and I know it's going to be there in many years to come. So I'm not trying to get rid of it. I know it's going to be there. It's a natural and normal thing for it to do. My thinking mind is to give me these stories. But the key thing is to notice it, disengage from it, disentangle from that thought, knowing it's only words that can't hurt me unless I give them meaning, and I can step away from it and then take some action towards the things that I want to do. So I hope that helps, gets you thinking. What's your inner critic saying to you? What's your self-judge saying to you? Just watch it, observe it with your watcher. Look at it, look at the stories, look at the language it uses and say, thanks for that, but that's not me, and I'm going to carry on doing the things that I want to do. So step by step we get ahead. Keep practicing these little skills, switching on the watcher. And again, that will just empower you, give you a little bit more clarity about what you want. You can start to build the skill of watching your thoughts and not getting tangled up with them and fused with them, and then doing the things that you want to do. So step by step we get ahead. Just keep practicing these little skills. Switch on the watcher, I call it. Keep observing the eyes behind the eyes, just watching our thoughts. Remember, we're not our thoughts, we watch our thoughts. It's only when we give them meaning that then can start to create the behaviors that become problematic. But look, have an amazing week. when something's on my mind, I'll drop it over another video, but I hope that helps. Take care for now. See you soon. Bye.